Good morning and welcome to Wake and Wellness. We are so excited to be back. It's been a little bit of time since our last video. We had some things that we wanted to get together on our end, and the main one was therapy. I was working on a lot of my own inner things that I needed to bring into connection before I came back and talked to you guys because I was going through so many revelations and so many insights. And before I came back to you guys, I wanted to take care of my stuff to make sure that everything was together. And so I'm very excited. I am, as always, I'm ecstatic and I cannot wait to share this episode with you guys. So let's get into it. So today we're going to go into the importance of therapy and how therapy can help. And the main difference that I realized was the change in confidence. I had so many different aspects that were it's almost like a puzzle. This piece was over there, this piece was over there, and this was over here. And so it seemed like they just did not fit. But in the grand scheme of it, when I could see the whole vision and what everything was sort of playing into, then it helped me to see how these things align in the same way that what you eat is just as important as how often you work out on your body, as often as you work your brain out by reading or learning a different language or by the interactions and relationships that we have and we build to create a better us. And so all these things have the same core objective, if we need to call it that, but they all are tied in, and that's what I needed a little bit of help within therapy. I realized there were spaces that I felt, let's say, for example, prior relationships, because of who I was at the time and because of how I handled certain things and not being at my best. Um, these things did not evolve or transpire in the way that they could have in the best way. But through therapy and talking through these things, I could see some of this. I could see, wow, my anxiety came from this, or I was unsure in this relationship, and this was a very strong relationship in which I understood my identity outside of or within. And so going through these steps again helped me put everything into perspective. Putting things into perspective can really help you see, all right, wow, I'm not really lost. I may just be looking in the wrong direction. Or we can that's what your therapist really helps you. They should be your guiding light and helping us see exactly what it is that we need help on and focusing on. That's what I told her. I need help in my blind spots. I need to see some of the connections that I know I'm missing because I'm too close to it. Being a fish inside the fishbowl and trying to tell that you're in the fishbowl can be a very difficult thing until you awaken that awareness to a certain level, and then you can go, okay, now I understand, now I can see it, let's get into it. And so that's what I really thank my therapist for. I love my therapist with all my heart, and I found her through BetterHelp. And so BetterHelp is an amazing app that will aid you in finding, they give you a questionnaire and then they pair you with the therapist. And I could not have been paired with a better therapist. And so I'm very grateful to my therapist. Thank you so much. And I'm ready to get into the episode. And so I wrote down a few different ways. As I said, my main focus that I could tell made the difference was within confidence. And of course, connected to a few different things, but I felt like in my life I was always missing something, some kind of core aspect. And I didn't even really remember mentioning this to my therapist, but through some time of us talking, she asked a couple of questions on like, is this why? And this person, like, there is so much that just one question was able to make so many connections for me. And then it made me go, wow, okay, I didn't even really realize that this was what I felt. And while I felt so, let's say, messed up inside, this part connects to that, and it just made so much sense. And through this, I was able to forgive the, let's say, the beginning link that was attached to this abandonment issue. And from there, I could see, wow, the thing that I was seeking, as my therapist put it, you, in some degree, weren't given the ability to mourn this properly, because you've never been able to have this connection in this specific way. And when it made sense, thank God I have been working on forgiving in this for so long, because through that I could see how the forgiveness was able to give me back what it was that I really needed, and through that able to forgive this person. And now, as I look in the grander scheme of things, now my heart's more open to be as good as, to be as thankful for, to be as grateful for the relationships and all the blessings. Really, what I call God has given me an angel in the form of a parent, both of my parents. And I was going to do an episode, and I'm going to do an episode on this, but realizing how I was listening to Moody Bible came on after, it always comes on at the right time, but I was listening, and they talked about how God comes through, or source comes through and utilizes angels and works through others, and how they show up in these places and what may seem like a gap, and like just a time where you're like, oh man, I'm just stuck out in a blizzard and I'm just not gonna get out. That happened to me when I was working for like Amazon. I just had no way of getting out. I was digging and I couldn't get out. And this lady, just the one random car came out, gave me her snow pick, and it allowed me to get out. And I'll go into that in another time. But again, angels, which are people really filled with the divine energy and really being in their highest form, allowing themselves to be the channel and utilized for what God has for us. And so that's what my therapist also is. And it felt like, but again, to have this happen and be aware of it, if I stayed in that other space, not looking to heal it, and I stayed in that space of thinking this person did me wrong, and I stayed in this space of, wow, you were supposed to be the one that I could, all this lesser being or lesser state thinking, to where now it goes, and it's taken time, trust me, and it took a lot, and it wasn't until after death that this could happen. And so for them physically, and for me metaphysically or metaphorically, and I just think about it, and now I go, I don't know what they were going through. I don't know what, obstacles or what their life was like. So for me to sit in a place of taking it personally, regardless if the connection is this close or not, a genetic copy, those kind of things don't, what is the word I'm looking for? They shouldn't triumph where we need to be when we are looking for healing and when we are looking to be our best self. And from there, I came to a place of understanding of, I forgive you. I only wish the best for you here in the afterlife and in the next. And hopefully we can have a better connection in the next. And so that's really the way I think of it. And because of that, I am now freed from, like Les Brown talks about it, like when he said he hated his biological parents, which he never even seen. He didn't even have a face to give them. Yet that hate was just as prevalent or more prevalent than really the love that he was, because that's all that he could think of, until he switched that perception and that thought that I was given away and adopted. When he switched the perspective, and I was chosen by love. That's a place of power, and that's what I mean. We can stay stuck in all of that lesser thinking and being, or we could come into our space of love and say, look, I know it's the reason why, and until we find that positive reason why, which empowers us, we will sit and be less than. And so these are the things that come to you like this in therapy, from very small questions. And so that's why I am really pushing to you all the power of therapy and the importance of therapy, the necessity, because we all need to talk to somebody. So no matter what you're thinking, and as we're talking about changing perspectives and paradigms, I think typically, especially in the Black community, I think that we think, oh, going to therapy is, oh, you crazy, or it's a sign of weakness. But as I was sitting there and I was meditating, it really smacked me when I had to do this episode, and it said that therapy is not for people with problems. Therapy is for people who seek solutions. And so when you really start to think about that, and when you really start to shift yourself and live in that kind of energy, first you start to see that there are no real problems. Once you come to this kind of awareness, or that level of awareness and consciousness, then things already have changed for you, because you start to see that the world that that emerges from our thoughts and from our own creation, once you start to realize it's a manifestation of how we think, then this is not a problem. This is a stepping stone to a solution, or to a place that we desire to be. If you say right now, I want $1,000, well, and you don't have it, then you have a quote unquote problem. But if you look at it from a different space and go, that is a goal, and I am currently going towards achieving it. I may not have, or I may be at 0, or I may be at 100. I may not be at that place, but this is the stepping stones to get there. Then we will start to see it in a different light, and stress doesn't come down on, oh, I have a problem. And then we start bringing more problems. Now you're getting tickets and all these things that are taking you away actively from your goal, because you're living more in fear of not achieving your goal. But you are working in a steady, solidified plan and vision of how you're going to achieve this state of being that you desire, which in this case, an example, is the $1,000. And so it's the same in this way. When you can start to see, oh, you may have trust issues, you may have abandonment issues, oh, you may have whatever it is. Once we start looking at it as, okay, this is not a problem, like some kind of external burden that just fell down on us out of the sky, like a boulder just fell and you're like, oh my God. No, it's not that way. It's from a result. It's a mental result. I like what Jim Rohn said when he said, I never had no money. I didn't have money, and I thought that was the problem, until his mentor taught him that's not the problem. He said, oh, I've been thinking of it wrong the whole time. What was the issue? It wasn't that he didn't have money. He had a lack of ideas of how to generate and produce money, and to a great degree. But we don't even have to go there. It was just at the baseline, a lack of an ability to generate ideas or that would bring monetary abundance. And so again, we see this isn't something like his paycheck being, let's just say, $200 a week, and making him feel as if misfortune and all these negative things were falling upon him, like some external substance or circumstance. That's not how it is. It was from the mental reproduction, how he saw and envisioned himself. Therefore, that's the path that we take. And so if we can really grasp, I keep wanting to get into this, but it's really pulling on me, because the stronger, or the more clear, I like to say that, the more clear that we can see the statement that I am making, the more easily it is to observe that life unfolds in the way that we think. If you say, I can get this job, even when everybody tells you that you cannot, you may have had to apply 5 times. You may have had to take 5 different kind of tests, or you may have needed study groups, you may have needed tutors, whatever it is. But just to show you the immediate difference, if you did not believe that you were able to do so, even if everybody else was telling you and egging you on that you could, then you would not have taken those steps to get the necessary help in order to do so. And the dream would have been over from right there. And so that's just to show you the immediate difference, whether or not you got the world cheering you on or you got the world going against you. the one that has perseverance and who has determination at the core of their heart, of their perspective, of their soul, and of their commitment is going to be the one that achieves that goal and that state of being, because that is all there is. It is a creation of a mental production. We are all living out our movies, which are mental productions, and we are creating this film moment by moment. So it's really, as me and my cousin used to say when we were young, choose your sticks, how you want to play it, you know? And also what I really love, and I advise you guys to go watch, is type in Jim Rohn, and he's gonna have a full seminar, 2.5 hours, and it's about manifesting what you want and learning how to do so, and learning that that only comes through personal development. I love what he says, that our income does, he said, I found that income does not exceed personal development by much. And so what that means is, and so you know our favorite line here is health is wealth. It is in this same way. As far as we expand, develop, explore our self-wealth, that or ourself, which is our wealth, I'm gonna call it self-wealth, then we can start to see the abundance of monetary riches, because of course, as he says, you want to make an extraordinary salary? How do you do that? Become an extraordinary person. And it sounds so simple, and somebody may go, oh, okay. But if you, it's simple. 2 equals 2. Like 1 + 1 = 2. These things are very simple, while yet we like to make them complicated. And so when we really think about that, it makes so much sense. Because again, how do you make very strong, positive relationships? By being a strong, positive person. How do you get this kind of job? How do you get this kind of home? How do you create this kind of world? We create the world by becoming the change that we want to see in the world. And this is not some cliche. This is some real stuff. This is some real magic and some real spelling for you. It's as simple as it is. You do not become great by doing negative deeds. You know, we could go into it forever. So we're just gonna go over into what I wrote. 3 ways that therapy has strengthened my confidence. And so first, by plotting out and freeing up my mind, giving a canvas to lay everything upon and observe with a step back and a qualified entity to aid your navigation in the entanglement. Whew, I love these. I had to write them down right away as soon as I had them, because they were sitting on my mind. But providing that, again, I mentioned a puzzle. Now we can look at it more as a map. All these destinations, the mind itself, if we could really get a glimpse into the infinite expansion of what is the mind and all of the things that play into the, what is it that I'm looking for? Into the, really this dance that is happening. I'm thinking of Apple TV's Dark Matter, and where, little spoiler alert, but not really, if you haven't seen it, a character creates the box in which many of us know, especially if you're in psychology or even esotericism or anything of that nature, space, quantum physics, where we talk about Schrodinger's cat and we talk about superposition and about the cat being dead and alive at the same time. But one of those realities not being solidified or real or realized until we observe, okay, until we make a definite, observation, then both of these realities are happening. And so he creates this box, and it's a beautiful way. This corridor happens as the mind is trying to make sense of itself. And so for anybody that has done some self-exploration, whether through meditation, whether through hallucinogenics, whether through therapy, however you've done your self-exploration, you will know that they did an amazing job on how this all plays out. And to bring it back into what I was talking about, the door that you go through is completely determined by what you're holding on to in your mind. And first they think that's what it solely is. And then they start to realize that it's actually of what you think in your mind, how you're feeling at the moment, what your subconscious desires. It's all of these aspects, which ultimately is to be human. And so once they start to check and start to see, they go, oh, well, I said I wanted a happy Chicago and that's what I had in my mind. But subconsciously they were feeling submerged, and then water comes through. And so they start realizing that all of these aspects play into it. And to be whole, we have to realize, again, like I mentioned before, I had all these puzzle pieces seemingly separate, not realizing that they actually create the full puzzle. That's what gives us the true vision and of what it is that we are playing at, that we are playing into, and that we are made up of. And so in this same way, it's necessary that we have a guide and someone that can serve as a beacon to let us know that you may just be a little offshore. You know, you may be looking at it and you may be seeing the picture, but it may be slightly tilted. And so having somebody that can reshift and teach us, especially when we are dealing with paradigms, especially if you have never worked with shifting a paradigm before this, then you may be hearing a lot of stuff when we hop on YouTube and all these things about changing your mind and about making changes. But for anyone who wants to make a change and has not come face to face with learning about changing paradigms, you're going to run into some problems. And if you haven't heard of Bob Proctor and the terror barrier, you're going to run straight into the terror barrier when you go to make that change, that invisible wall and barrier that if you do not break through, you bounce back and then you repeat the same thing that you did before. If you do not learn about these things, you may come to think, oh, I can never do this, or there's something wrong with me, or maybe I don't really want to make the change. But when you have a qualified person that can help you understand the playing field and then what it takes to break through, we can start to make these changes much more effectively than if we were just to always try to do them on our own, which many of us do and say, I don't need a therapist. Like what Kendrick said on his album in the intro, she says, you need some therapy. I'm gonna give you somebody's number. He say, real nigga don't need no therapy. Like she said, you sound real dumb. And that's how a lot of us really are thinking, I don't need somebody else to tell me how I feel, or I don't need, when really that's the egoic defense. That's shouting and screaming, I need some help, but I am not big enough yet. I am not mature enough yet to say I need some help. And I love what, I believe it is Jim Rohn. He said, that is the greatest sign of maturity, is taking full responsibility for self and for actions. And when we can say, I need help, I'm taking responsibility of self. Les Brown, he says, what is it? I ask for help not because I am weak, but because I am strong and I want to remain that way. And so for so long, and I'm still this way because I'm gonna do it myself. I don't need nobody to help me do this, but I know good and well that I can't do everything myself. I know good and well that there's so many people that are much better at so many different things that I do. And so looking up to them, seeking their help, not just trying to copy, as I sometimes would sit there and think like, oh, if I just do it like that, they have the right way to do it. So you need to be copying them. But instead, I would be sitting there thinking, let me try and go and do it on my own, trying to reinvent the wheel on something that now I'm doing it even more poorly, and I'm not going to get the results that I need. And so many of us do this. And this is how we can dig ruts. This is how we get in places or mental states in rigidity. Y'all know that's where we started off really with Waking Wellness. That's how so many of us get into this rigidity and thinking that, oh, I'm making my own way, I'm trailblazing this. But we only trailblaze a path of shit. Like, we're not doing anything in the sense that we could be learning from others, taking those things, doing them better, improving on ourselves. Then we can go and, trailblaze this different kind of way. But before then, we need the basics. We need to create this strong foundation so that we can be, in the best of ways, sane, healthy, and knowing that what we are doing is of value. And so we all know I'm a very unique individual. I'm the first to tell you that we need to learn how to access our uniqueness. But first, true leaders learn how to follow, and that's how the best leaders become the leaders and the respectable, seemingly the Martin Luther Kings, Malcolm X's, seemingly these, like, they're just the anomaly when they learn how to be great followers first. And each time. So again, plotting out and freeing up the mind. That's so important, to free the mind. As somebody who, I'm a Gemini, I live in the mind. If you do not learn how to free the mind, you will always be jumbled. You will never be able to look at the map, especially with a clear view. And you will always feel like, oh my God, you have a to-do list that's always running through, but no matter what you check off, it's just always burdening you, and it's never allowing you to get to the place that you need to be, because you have not allowed yourself to clean out that space and then start working with what it is that you have, which is really gold. And given the canvas to lay everything upon, and observe with a step back and the qualified entity to help you in your navigation in the entanglement. Enlightenment truly is the untanglement, and I believe, what do they call it? It's like the blowout, the extinguishing, getting all of these things just out. I think I saw, it was something like on Netflix, like a Headspace type of show where they just had amazing, simple graphics, but it's just like this really tangled up rope. And then at the end of it, when you become enlightened, it's sort of like the ring light that I'm looking at right now. It just becomes this perfect circle. And when it happens, you go, oh my God. It feels like the aha moment. You're like, I'm at peace. And that's what we're aiming for. So the second way that I said that therapy has strengthened my confidence is the ability and being able to verify and confirm ideas of patterns and beliefs we hold. I mentioned getting into that rigidity, and because it's just us, re-perpetuating the ideas and things that we think, listening to the same music, taking the same streets, eating the same food. That is why it's so important to read different books, to meet different people, to go to different places, situations, to create a difference in circumstances so that we can continue to grow and test our personality, our unique skills, ideas within the multitude of possibilities, so that we can really see who we are and what it is that we can become. And again, allowing someone qualified to interpret these constructs in ways to properly adjust, to properly address, adjust, and then apply. I was on the roll, I ain't gonna lie. We was tapped in. I'm gonna say that again. So the ability in being able to verify and confirm ideas of patterns and beliefs we hold. Those are what's going to mold and give the production. That's going to determine the quality of what it is that we're producing, first off. The patterns and beliefs that we hold. And then again, allowing someone qualified to interpret these constructs in ways to properly address. So let me confront it and see what we're dealing with. Adjust. Okay, I was doing this right, that not so right. And then apply. Now it's time to get to the work. Let's do it. We need to see how to make this actual change so that we can see, or we need to understand how to, apply this change in a committed way so we can see the transformation that is to come. And apply to the real world for permanent change. I pretty much walked through it already, but it's so important again because there's things that I was thinking that I didn't even know I was thinking. There were ways that I was being that I didn't even know I was being. There were things that were important to me that I didn't even realize were important because again, I had all this garbage just pretty much doing this, just jumping around, moving in my mind, but doing this to my eyes and more importantly, to this eye and stopping the clarity from allowing the clarity to just break through. When you have clarity, certain things happen. You feel more powerful. You can feel that it's nothing that can get in my way. And if there is going to be an obstacle, you do not call it a problem. You see it as a hurdle, but you go, of course I can get over this. This was something that was actually given to me and bestowed upon me to get to this place. I had a radical mind shift when I was listening to Jim Rohn. And he said, the seasons do not change. He said, we are the ones that have to change first off. We know how the seasons come. It's cyclical. And so if we know that, then if we know winter is to come, the only thing that we can do is prepare for winter, right? And so he said in the same way, how opportunity happens. Opportunity comes, then challenge. After challenge follows opportunity. And I don't know what it was about that. But when I heard it, I went, oh man, obviously. Because when the opportunity comes and you get it, you have to triumph over the challenge in order to seize the opportunity, and vice versa. Once the challenge presents itself, okay, you have to overcome it, but the challenge, you overcoming the challenge is the opportunity. So it's just so funny how it is because again, like I said, I heard it. I'm driving like 4 hours from Michigan. I'm just working, but doing my meditation and driving. And he said it and I go, of course, like, of course. And so to see that again, not as a problem, the person that wants to just say, oh, this is a problem, they're the one that's gonna complain. And all they can keep doing then is complaining because they think they feel better by complaining because they don't wanna do anything. And so, again, I love what Jim Rohn says. He says, you spend 5 minutes complaining, you've wasted 5 minutes complaining. And that's all that it really is. And that's all that it really does. And all that does, when I was looking at energy once, I saw this map and it showed how energy moves. You're either spiraling down and it shows the differences in like sorrow, grief, resentment, and it shows the different levels. And then it shows what happens when you spiral up. It's like happiness, I can't even think of anything but happiness and joy. So I'm just gonna use some different words here. Happiness, joy, ecstasy, bliss, like, and that's all it is. Complain for 1 minute, you can drop down to ungratefulness. Complain for 2 minutes, you can drop down to doubt. Complain for 3, now you're down in sorrow, and it just keeps going. So as opposed to complaining and seeing this thing as a problem, you should say, hey, I have this goal, and this is the step to get here, and this is the step to get here. It was never a problem. It was something that I actually asked for so that my consciousness can go and shift to this next place and this next level of awareness. And it's one thing to do this with yourself, and you're gonna have to do this with yourself no matter what, and become a master at doing this with yourself. But the beauty in having someone else who is qualified and who has spent their lifetime helping others identify and do this is invaluable. And again, to verify and confirm ideas of patterns and beliefs. That's first. Seeing the ways, the ruts or the tracks that we, in the streets that we typically go. That's first. And then, allowing this person, and that's also a step. Allowing. So many people will go into therapy many times because they're ordered to for some reason, whether it's for work or maybe they had an outbreak at school, something like that. And so now they're in therapy, but unwillingly. So a therapist can't help you if you're unwilling. Life and nothing can, source cannot help you if you're unwilling. Source comes in when we allow and we surrender and we say, life, I done had enough. I get it now. I can't do it alone. I need you, and I need myself to open up to you to allow you to work through me. And so that's actually next, after identifying, or maybe even before identifying these patterns and beliefs. But we have to open up and allow this qualified person and entity or energy to allow us to then go to the next steps, which would be to interpreting these interpreting these constructs and properly addressing, adjusting, and then applying to the real world for actual change, for permanent change. And that happens through the commitment. And we talked about that many times, the three that are necessary so that that commitment actually turns into the transformation. And so our third way that I said therapy has strengthened my confidence. And so that third way that I said that therapy helped to strengthen my confidence was utilizing my voice. I can just stop right there and go into that, and I sort of want to, but I'm just gonna go through because of course I'm gonna go through it again anyways. In a space of non-judgment, that's even bigger than, okay. Like I said, I was on a roll. Your therapist should be open and allow you to access your true self. They should be steering you towards doing so, but all while allowing you to use your most authentic voice on your time and in a way that makes you feel safe and empowered, eventually aiding your realization that it is and has always been with and within you. Again, I was on a roll. I just came out of meditation and streaming because this just feels so good and I couldn't say it in a better way right now. So to walk back through that, utilizing my own voice. I've been writing and creating classes and courses off of this specifically because I keep reading so many different things about many different people, but even more specifically about like high schoolers and kids who are committing suicide and who are having, and it's been happening from mainly things like bullying. But it's been all different kinds of things. Bullying, I just read one from online, what is it called? It's like a sex scam or something like that, and sextortion. And so between that and bullying, bullying period, I've seen so many different cases of this. And so to go off there, what I'm reading is a common theme within these are the child or the person does not have a voice. They don't have an outlet to really let be known what's going on. And so in some of these cases, they have maybe mentioned it, let's say to a parent or somebody, and their parents have then reached out or contacted the school, but then pretty much every time what happens is the school fails to do their part. There's been incidences of hazing on football teams where kids are doing wild things, and nothing has been done about it until it's too late and the child just decides I cannot take it anymore. And so what's been apparent to me is it's people of all ages. People of all ages are taking their life. People of all ages are feeling unheard, are feeling unseen. I was just watching The Terror, and the father of a family, they're being really sort of chased by the spirit and going through it. The father is having a hard time, and somebody says he feels unseen. And so she's not the wife of the son, but she's gonna have their child. She's just like, the father hates me. I don't know what to do to get him to like me. And it feels impossible. And one day she comes in and in Japanese, and she's Spanish, and she comes in, and in Japanese she reads to him and says, your grandchildren are going to honor you. Your grandchildren are going to think highly of you. Your grandchildren are, when you pass, they're always going to speak properly of you and hold your memory and carry on your legacy. And it was so powerful. I didn't even think it would be something that would make it into this, but it was so powerful for me. It was really one of those moments where if you are attuned to the heart, where you could simply start crying, because as a human you can value that and you can see, and all of us, I don't care who you are and what you want to act like, all of us have had moments where we have felt unseen. We know what it is to feel like, and hopefully we know even more so in this example, where you gave it your all and you still just feel like, wow, they did not see me for who I was or for what I really gave to this. And because when you do, there is power in that, when you can really come back and reflect. And so in a moment like this, because he said to his son, which ends up not really being his son, he says to his son says to him, you are nothing to me. She's my blood because she's the sister of his actual mother, but he didn't know that until now. And his dad says, is that so? Like, he stands up, and when he stood up, I said, would a real Slim Shady please stand up? And it was so funny because that's what he was meant to do. Is that so? After I've raised you, and he didn't even have to say all those things, but in his being, that's what was brought up, is that so? I am nothing. And his son wanted him to feel that way. And so to have what would be the wife or the daughter-in-law, if they had got married and went through with this, to come to him and be the one to tell him that you will be honored. You are seen, and what you are is valuable. That's the soul connection. That is one soul. That's what Namaste is. I see the God in you. I see the divine being in you, and I'm letting you know that you are you are everything. And I love you. I am that love. We are one. It's something so powerful within that. And so to really that's what a therapist ultimately will do for you. And not for them to say, I love you. I mean, obviously they are doing this. If they are doing their calling and they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and out of their heart and their dharma, completing their mission, then hopefully the breakthrough in the work that they are doing will be able to get you to see the love that you have for yourself. That's why you have to be willing to be in therapy. You have to be willing. One time she said something to me that it was like a pressure point for me. It was like the poison that Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. speaks of in the Four Agreements, that place that you touch and you start to instantly react, before you get to respond, because that's your pressure point. And she said, look, if you don't want to go here, we don't have to go here. And she's so sweet, kind, and gentle. But I felt some firmness in it, and I loved it. And she said, if you don't want to go there, we don't have to. But this is a place. This that place we can go to. We can resolve some stuff and work it out, or we can just let it be. And me, I always take the challenge. And I was like, no, I want to do this, so let's do it. And she had me do this exercise that helped me get in with my inner child. And I've done it before by myself, and it's helped. But doing it with her, it was wow, because it was literally like, by closing my eyes, I was back in this space, and I could feel it. And after I did it, it released, and it was just very powerful. And so, again, getting me to realize and identify a place within myself that I need to talk to, and that I need to get in alignment with, and that I know needed healing. And so allowing and being open enough with her and giving her the permission to work with me like that, and then giving that permission again to her, but then within and through myself, and saying, yo, if this is what you really are here to do, then go ahead and do. Nobody told you to sign up for therapy. I mean, I may have had some people, I got my family telling me, but nobody, like this isn't a mandated or work mandated thing. Like you won't be able to do such and such without this. This is you and you saying you will not be at peace with yourself until you do some of these things that you need to do by making the connections with yourself. And so it was very powerful, and to connect it with, y'all know I love the pattern, they're always on point. They gave my daily vibe, and today is June 9th. This is an incredible time to experience an emotional rebirth that can help you understand different parts of who you are, these different parts of that puzzle, the different parts of this roadmap to helping us see this is who I am. Not these, let's say these social descriptions. I'm black, I'm a male, I'm American, I'm born in America, I was born in, Milwaukee, but I'm from Chicago. All these different things. Yes, they make me up, but the roadmap that we're talking about is the actual self, is the inner self, is the Atman, if any of you have seen, we talked about it so many times, Avatar, Aang, or Korra, when they go within and they take that rainbow bridge or the Antakarana, y'all know I love me some Antakarana. When we talk about that and you're walking that path and you see the self that is sitting there and that is dormant, that is waiting for you to say, I'm here, wake up. And you walk into that. That's the roadmap that we are seeking and getting into. That's what your therapist is leading you to and giving you that moment of elation. I can always refer back to Peru and going to Machu Picchu. And I said to my therapist when she asked me this question about, do you think this is the reason why you're missing this piece because of like this relationship or this thing? I said, I never even thought about that. And that's what I'm talking about. A therapist, for any of you that know or are into psychology, neuroplasticity, and or things like utilizing hallucinogenics to expand the self. That's all your therapist is. They're literally like an agent for you to make those connections, enhance your neuroplasticity on who you are. They're just making those connections. So if you need to think about it like this, really your therapist is like a microdose, or if you really doing it right, is like a bag full of the shrooms or tabs that are going to give you the insight and that you need to go, this is me, okay, I get it. Wow, that made sense. And now we can move in a different spirit. And to connect with what I was just mentioning about that piece of feeling something missing within me, and not knowing that it could have been from this certain connection that I was looking for, which was connected to my biggest issue of feeling like abandoned, or having that abandonment issue, and therefore a trust issue, and therefore sabotaging relationships because of this, making sure it didn't happen to me, but now I'm the one that was doing it. It's so wild because when I was in Peru, I said I had this mystical experience where I just opened my arms on Machu Picchu, and then it felt like a spirit, like it felt like just fulfilled me and went through me. Like I had a big hole and I could see it, and it was like a portal, and it just went through me but also fulfilled me. And I said after that moment I felt complete, and I never had that feeling before. And that's what your therapist is getting you ready for you to fulfill yourself with that spirit, for you to make sure that you can open yourself up to life and say, I'm ready. There is nothing else that I am going to keep waiting for and thinking that, oh, once I get this, once I get that kind of job, once I get this kind of partner, once I get this sum of money, that is not going to be the piece that completes you. And most people that stay waiting for that thing always are in a place of waiting and hoping that they will soon be fulfilled even after they've hit. They may have had a goal to have $1 million. Now they got 15 million. And it's still like, wait, how did I not? Now they only wanted one of the expensive cars. Now they got 20. It's still not fulfilled. And so just keep on buying these things. And it goes, look, it was the same thing when you were broke or you didn't have none of it, and you're still looking for these things when in reality it is this thing, it is this energy, it is this, you know. And so that's what your therapist should really be helping you get in tune with. And reading this about the emotional rebirth and having it help understand the different parts of who you are was just so perfect, especially doing this episode today. We already know everything is in tandem and there is no such thing as a coincidence. And so bringing that all the way back to where we started, utilizing thy voice, utilizing my voice as a place and as a tool of power. It made me almost just as excited as Jerome was saying it when he said it. Once you start figuring out that it's you are the main impetus for your change, and that it's through your planning, through your vision, through same way of speaking this into, things should get exciting and you should be like, hold on, wait, what? I could create whatever I want. It's only a person who is still within a negative frame of mind that would get worried and go, oh my God, because you're worried about creating or running away from your dream. And so understanding that you have to utilize the voice properly. I'm one who, and I more and more see it every day, I forgot how at you and expressive I am, but this is the real me. But when I get around people, I can be shy until I learn the dynamics of things, because I am very much a thinker. And again, I told you, Gemini, we are in the mind. And so I'm going to sit there, I'm going to do my analysis on everything. And I may even talk a little bit lower or seem in my mannerisms maybe like this. But the moment that one or two things happen, I feel comfortable and I'm just like, hey, yo, it's time to, and I start to introduce myself as the life of the party and I feel it within myself rise, then I'm the most colorful. And as they always say, Gemini are so charismatic and are that way, life of the party type. Or someone challenges me. Once someone challenges me, then I ain't even gonna lie. My ego will also hop in a little bit, but still subservient to the soul. And I will let it be known that this will not be tolerated. This is not what it is. You got the wrong person. And in both of those, you can feel a true sense of power, but an authentic sense of self. And from there is nothing that will not be given to that individual who is authentic, who stands on their principles, who moves in alignment with what and who they say they are. Nothing remains a barrier to this individual. And so learning to utilize the voice in a place of power, not speak against self. A book that I read after reading The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho was so powerful. It's called Valkyries, and it talks about our angels and getting in tune with our solar self and activating and really coming into who we really, really are, as I'm talking about, in a state of a divinity. And one of the promises that we have to do with ourselves is not to use our word against ourselves. First and foremost, we should not be using our word against anyone, because that's a form of black magic, and anything that we do out to others will return to us. So learning to use our voice in a positive sense, period, is something that is so essential to becoming more confident, but becoming more assertive in showing the world who we are. And when I say showing, really letting the world know, this is who I am, this is what it is, and I will not be denied. And the reason why the therapist or therapy is so important and it comes into a great play is in a space of non-judgment. You don't know this person. You know that their goal is to help you, hopefully. You know that this is a space that is created for you, by you, and only to help you thrive and to get all your stuff out there. Like this is the last place that you need to be holding on to some stuff and thinking like, oh, maybe I need to say the best for last. Nah, this is the place where so many people love to trauma dump and all that stuff. This is the place where you trauma dump, but with a goal of getting that in check so that you can be more healthy and you can get your stuff out into the world. Your therapist should be open and allow you to access your true self and steer you towards doing so, but all while allowing you to use your most authentic voice. If you're having problems, or as we like to say, if you are seeking solutions to move out of a lesser self or a lesser idea of yourself, and you want to start speaking with power, if you want to stop feeling like you're cowering and feeling like, oh, but I need to be this way so I can fit in. I was doing that. I had I had a pattern episode that was telling me that if you are lowering yourself, if you are dimming your light to be fitting into something, that's some bullshit, and you need to get from around the bullshit. And or you may, this is a very possible thing, because I was doing this at times, you may be in circles and in places that you need to be, but that you do not feel strong enough to be within. So that means that you need to be empowering yourself and letting yourself know that there is nobody here that is better than me as a human being. There may be people here that have skills that are better than me, and they may have developed themselves in some ways that are better than me. But there is nobody here that is just like, oh, that is a supreme being and you are not. That's not how this is going down. We are all in this place equally, and we all have the same capacity. I love when all the speakers, such as Jim Rohn, tell us we all have the same amount of time in a day to work on ourselves, to do great deeds, to help somebody else, to be who it is we seek to be. And so when we think of it like that, we really just need to step up to what it is that we need to be, and we need to elevate our ideas of what it is that we can be so that we can be better. It is not without the idea that we can do so. We must move with the belief, with the thought. When I heard Jim say there's nothing that an idea cannot change, and as I say it and I just sort of think about that and it echoes, there is nothing within the world that an idea cannot change. And so when we really start to think of that, let's go back to the example when Jim said, oh, well, I don't have any money, so I can't do these things. When we start to think there is nothing that an idea cannot change, it can change your state of poverty. It can change your state of, I like how Bob calls it, your case of stinking thinking. It can change it can change where you live. It can change your friends. It can change the way you treat yourself. When we think of ideas in that way, then it goes, okay, well, I need to get me some of those good ideas. That's the idea that we need. Why do you need some good ideas? Because I need to be better. Why do you need to be better? I need to be better so I can do better for others. I need to be better so I can put better into the world. I need to be better because I think the world can be better, and I know that it will not be better until we have others that are better. And who else better to start with than yourself? And so when we start to think like that, it's so powerful. Thinking about what Jim says or what Les says, they all let us know we need reasons to do these things. And if you think you could skip through some of these things and take some of these and like, oh, okay, yeah, good, and I'm going to be successful, It's funny. No, it's not happening that way. And I tried to do so many times, reading these books and skipping out on the visualization step because I was scared, because I know I have great visualization. And I would sometimes think about negative things or dark things. I didn't want those to manifest, but that happened to be the only thing I was thinking of. And then those things happen. So instead, I could have spent more time attempting and learning how to hold better thoughts, and I could have evaded those other things, but it didn't happen that way. And I'm grateful for it because I had to learn the lesson that I had to learn that lesson. And the only way to do so was going through that experience. And so it's in the same way. We want to be better. You just don't wake up and become better. You have to have the thought. You have to plant the seed and go, I need to be better. And then for you to hang on to this seed and keep watering it and keep going with it, you have to have a reason so that when all else, everything just done beat you down and you almost feel like, why would I keep doing this? Why does this make sense? That's what a reason gives you. You say, well, I have to because such and such has to happen. It's no other way. That's what solidifies the strength and the tide, the commitment, so that the transformation can be seen through. And so it's so important to, one, have these kinds of ideas. Two, to really nurture these kinds of ideas. Three, to have someone who can help us put that into perspective. And so it's not just you doing your thing in the garden. You can have a master gardener walk by and say, I like the way you're doing this area over here. You can continue doing this over here. But in my experience, I have seen that if you continue doing this, that's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure that's not the result that you are looking for. And so I cannot put it in any better terms. I could talk about this for forever because I am elated I'm elated because of what I have experienced. I'm elated for having such a genuine and beautiful therapist, beautiful person, beautiful soul help me make the adjustments, help me see what it was that I needed to see and make those connections to work on that when me and her are not in conversation. And so I hope that this helps you do the same exact thing. And I hope it helps you seek out who it is that you need to seek, even if it's me, and even if you need to go into the comments and we could talk about it. And I can help you find that person that can help you get into what it is that you need so you can address, confront, and change and apply these changes that you seek to make within yourself, and therefore put out that beauty in the world. And so I love you guys. This is Wake and Wellness. Our next episode is going to be on therapy, but it's going to be on microdosing, which is a form, in my opinion, should be a form of self-therapy if you are utilizing it. So I hope you guys love this episode. I really did. I enjoyed doing it. This is Wake and Wellness. I love you guys. Health is wealth.